The oldest surviving recording in the galaxy was only 14 seconds long. It contained no battle, no prophecy, no map to forgotten treasure, only a single sentence. The voice belonged to one of the elders, the mysterious civilization that had existed millions of years before every modern empire. Their technology had shaped the stars, built the ancient gates, and even stabilized black holes. Entire religions were founded upon their relics. Yet among all their countless teachings, one message stood above every other. Whatever happens, do not awaken humanity. No explanation followed. No details. Just silence. For nearly 3 million years, every advanced civilization obeyed the warning. No one knew where humanity had gone. Some believed humans had destroyed themselves. Others claimed they had ascended beyond physical existence. A few whispered that humanity had never truly disappeared, only slept. Eventually, the warning became nothing more than a myth. Young civilizations laughed whenever historians mentioned it. The elders feared a primitive species? Impossible. The Dravian Empire considered humans biologically weak. The Vorax Dominion mocked their fragile bodies. The Karth Syndicate dismissed them as another extinct death world race. Only one civilization never joked about humanity. The Archivists. They preserved every elder artifact ever discovered. Inside the deepest vault beneath their capital world rested a sealed chamber that no one had opened for 2 million years. Its entrance bore hundreds of warning symbols. Every known language. Every known mathematical code. Every universal danger sign. At its center were 7 words. Do not disturb the sleepers of Earth. Even the archivists refused to enter. Until Chancellor Varek arrived. Varek wasn't interested in old legends. He believed history existed only to serve the future. Our galaxy is dying, he declared before the Grand Assembly. The energy crisis grows worse every cycle. The elders clearly hid technology powerful enough to save us. One archivist slowly stood. The chamber is forbidden. Varek smiled. Forbidden by ghosts. Laughter filled the council chamber. The Chancellor continued. If humanity truly existed, they're long dead. The vote lasted less than a minute. Authorization granted. For the first time in 2 million years, the Forbidden Vault would be opened. Deep beneath the planet, massive doors slowly separated. Ancient mechanisms awakened. Dust that had remained undisturbed since before recorded history drifted into the air. Rows of impossible machines stretched into darkness. No weapons. No treasure. No armies. Only a single enormous sphere floating silently in the center of the chamber. Its surface resembled liquid silver. Ancient elder symbols glowed faintly across it. An expedition team cautiously approached. One scientist scanned the object. No power source detected. Another frowned. Impossible. The sphere suddenly emitted one soft tone. Everyone froze. A second tone followed. Then a third. The symbols brightened. The chamber lights dimmed. An automated voice echoed through the vault. Unauthorized access detected. Scientists exchanged nervous glances. Another message followed. Sleep protocol compromised. Varek stepped forward confidently. Deactivate security. Silence. The sphere opened. Not with gears. Not mechanically. Reality itself seemed to unfold. Inside floated a small crystal no larger than a human hand. Beautiful. Perfect. Harmless. One scientist reached toward it. The archivist screamed. Don't touch. Too late. The crystal activated. A pulse of invisible energy spread across the chamber, across the planet, across the star system, across the galaxy. Ancient communication relays that had been silent for millions of years suddenly awakened. Hidden satellites buried inside dead moons powered on. Forgotten stations emerged from asteroid fields. Deep beneath abandoned planets, gigantic engines began humming. Across thousands of light years, countless red lights appeared in the darkness. Watching, waiting, listening. Every elder beacon transmitted the same message. Humanity has been awakened. Far beyond the mapped galaxy, beyond every known star, Inside a region no civilization had ever entered. A single blue light appeared. Then another. Then thousands. An unimaginably vast fleet, hidden in absolute silence for millions of years, began to move. And for the first time since the Age of the Elders, someone answered the call. Terran Response Fleet receiving emergency signal. Humanity is awake. Across the galaxy, confusion spread faster than any known form of communication. Military outposts suddenly detected impossible energy spikes. Ancient navigation buoys, believed to be dead for millions of years, came online simultaneously. Every elder beacon repeated the same transmission. Humanity has been awakened. No coordinates. No explanation. Just the same sentence over and over. For most civilizations, it sounded like an old myth suddenly becoming reality. For a handful of very old species, it sounded like a death sentence. On the homeworld of the Therian Collective, the oldest living historian collapsed as he heard the broadcast. His scales turned pale. His assistants rushed toward him. "Master Zelka, are you all right?" He stared at the ceiling, trembling. I prayed. I would never hear those words. The room fell silent. One young researcher frowned. "Surely it's a malfunction." Zelker slowly shook his head. "No. The elders never malfunction." Meanwhile, aboard the Imperial flagship Iron Dominion, Emperor Kale dismissed the panic with a wave of his hand. "The galaxy has become weak." His generals nodded. "They fear stories instead of enemies." One officer stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty." The archivists confirmed they opened a forbidden elder vault. Kale laughed. "So, they disturbed an old machine." Another officer interrupted. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting activity outside known space." The Emperor leaned forward. "What kind of activity?" The officer hesitated. "Movement." "How many ships?" "We can't calculate." "Estimate." The room became uncomfortably quiet. Finally the officer whispered, "Our computers stopped counting after 10 million. Silence. Then laughter erupted throughout the bridge. 10 million ships? Impossible. No civilization possessed even 100,000. The Emperor smiled. "Faulty sensors. Replace them." Far beyond the edge of explored space, darkness stretched endlessly between forgotten galaxies. The one star disappeared. Not because it exploded. Not because it died. Something enormous passed in front of it. Then another. Then hundreds. The darkness itself was moving. An ancient fleet emerged from the void. Their ships looked nothing like modern warships. They carried no glowing engines. No visible weapons. No exposed armor. Each vessel appeared carved from smooth white alloy that reflected starlight like polished marble. Elegant. Silent. Terrifying. At the center traveled a vessel so massive it eclipsed entire moons. Along its hull rested one familiar emblem. A blue planet. Surrounded by a silver laurel. The ancient symbol of Earth. Inside the flagship, no alarms sounded. No frantic officers shouted. Everything moved with calm precision. Thousands of men and women worked quietly at their stations. Every uniform carried the same insignia. Terran Response Fleet. A young officer turned toward the command platform. "Signal verified. The sleep protocol has ended." An older commander slowly opened his eyes. Millions of years had passed. Yet he looked no older than 40. His voice remained perfectly calm. "Status of the galaxy." Artificial intelligence answered immediately. Estimated civilizations, 14,827. Major governments, 63. Current technological level, primitive type 9. The commander nodded. "They've advanced." The pause. "But not enough." Another officer asked, "Admiral, do we assume hostile intent?" The commander remained silent for several seconds. Then answered, "No. We assume fear." Back inside known space, panic spread through government after government. Ancient archives began unlocking files that had never been accessible before. Most contained damaged recordings. Fragments. Warnings. One recovered message showed an elder standing before thousands of refugees. His final words echoed through every council chamber. If humanity wakes before the galaxy is ready, pray they remain merciful. The recording ended abruptly. No one knew what happened next. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species argued at once. This is deception. They're invaders. They're extinct. They're gods. The debate became chaos. Until every screen inside the chamber suddenly turned black. No hacking alerts. No electronic interference. Just darkness. A single human appeared. Gray hair. Simple white uniform. Calm blue eyes. He wasn't broadcasting from nearby. He was transmitting across millions of light years with impossible clarity. He looked around the chamber as though greeting old neighbors. Then he spoke. His voice carried neither anger nor pride. Only quiet disappointment. We received the awakening signal. You opened the vault. You ignored the elders. Several delegates instinctively stepped backward. The human continued. We are not here to conquer your galaxy. A wave of relief swept across the chamber. Then he finished his sentence. We are here to determine whether it can still be saved. Without another word, the transmission ended. Every screen returned to normal. Silence filled the council chamber. For the first time in recorded history, no one knew whether humanity's arrival meant salvation or the beginning of the end. The Galactic Council remained frozen long after the human transmission ended. Not a single delegate spoke. Not because they had no questions, but because every question suddenly seemed insignificant. Humanity was alive. Not scattered. Not struggling. Not hiding. They had answered a signal that crossed millions of light years as if it were a routine emergency call. Finally, Chancellor Varek broke the silence. They're bluffing. Several delegates looked at him in disbelief. You saw the transmission, one ambassador replied. We all did. Varek folded his arms. A projection proves nothing. If humanity truly possessed unimaginable power, why disappear for millions of years? No one had an answer. And that uncertainty gave Varek confidence. They're using fear. Nothing more. His words spread quickly across the galactic networks. Some governments agreed. Others quietly began evacuating their capitals. The oldest civilizations did something far more telling. They shut down every military fleet. Aboard the Terran flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Elias Carter stood before a transparent observation wall, watching stars drift past in complete silence. Behind him, Commander Maya Chin approached with a data slate. Status report. The galaxy is more divided than expected, she said. 31 governments have requested diplomatic contact. 22 have mobilized their militaries. And the Dravian Empire? Chin hesitated. They've declared humanity an extinct species impersonated by advanced machines. The admiral sighed. They're about to learn the cost of arrogance. He turned toward the central holomap. Thousands of blue markers appeared. Each represented a hidden Terran installation. Orbital foundries concealed inside dying stars. Research stations buried beneath rogue planets. Defense platforms disguised as asteroids. Every one of them had remained dormant for 3 million years. Now, one by one, they awakened. Across the galaxy, silent giants stirred from their endless sleep. On the industrial world of Karath Prime, miners noticed something impossible. An ordinary asteroid in the system's outer belt suddenly changed course. At first, they assumed it had been pulled by gravity. Then massive sections of rock began falling away. The asteroid wasn't an asteroid at all. It was a war station, nearly the size of a small moon. Its white hull emerged from beneath layers of ancient stone. Thousands of defensive cannons unfolded in perfect synchronization. No engines ignited. No alarms sounded. It simply awakened. Within minutes, identical reports flooded every major government. Dead moons. Frozen comets. Abandoned planets. Entire celestial bodies revealed themselves as hidden Terran fortresses. The galaxy had been living beside humanity's defenses for millions of years. without ever realizing it. Deep within the archives of Selker, historian Zelker unlocked one final classified elder record. The file required 12 genetic keys and had never been opened. The recording flickered to life. An elder stood in a ruined city. Smoke filled the sky. Behind him, strange shadows moved across collapsing towers. His voice was weary. "If you are seeing this, then we failed." Zelker leaned closer. The elder continued. "We did not seal humanity away because they were monsters. We sealed them away because something followed them." The room fell silent. Our greatest mistake was believing we could fight it alone. The image distorted. Static consumed half the screen. Then one final sentence emerged. "When humanity sleeps, the devourer sleeps." The recording ended. Zelker's blood ran cold. At that same moment, Admiral Carter received an encrypted transmission. Only one word appeared on the screen. "Anomaly." The bridge instantly shifted into action. Long-range sensors focused beyond the edge of explored space. An officer looked up, concern visible on his face. "Admiral, we're detecting gravitational distortions." "Source?" "Outside the galactic rim." "Size?" The officer swallowed. "We don't have a measurement." "Why not?" "Because it isn't a ship." The holographic display zoomed outward. Stars began disappearing, not exploding, not fading. Simply vanishing. An enormous region of space was being consumed. Commander Chen whispered, "It found us." The Admiral closed his eyes for a brief moment. So the prison has finally broken. Back in the Galactic Council, another emergency transmission arrived from humanity. This time, there was no greeting, no diplomacy, only urgency. Admiral Carter appeared on every screen. His calm expression was gone. "You believed the elders feared humanity. They did not. They feared what would awaken if humanity ever answered the call." Confused voices filled the chamber. "What are you talking about? What is the devourer?" Carter answered with absolute certainty. For 3 million years, humanity stood between this galaxy and extinction. A hologram appeared behind him. It showed an expanding darkness consuming entire star systems. No explosions. No survivors. Only silence. "The enemy has located us. It is coming. And unless every civilization stands together." He paused. "None of your worlds will survive the next year." The transmission ended. For the first time in galactic history, the greatest threat was no longer humanity. It was whatever had waited patiently for humanity to wake. For 12 straight hours, not a single government in the galaxy declared war. Instead, every military command, intelligence network, and observatory focused on one impossible image. A region of absolute darkness. Not empty space. Not a black hole. A moving void. Entire star systems disappeared inside it without producing explosions, radiation, or debris. One moment a sun burned brightly. The next, it simply ceased to exist, as though history itself had been erased. The ancient recordings had called it only one name. The Devourer. No species alive had ever seen it. Yet every elder warning suddenly made perfect sense. Aboard the Terran flagship Resolute Dawn, the command bridge was alive with activity. Thousands of tactical projections hovered in the air. Fleet movements. Civilian evacuation routes. Supply chains. Hidden defense platforms awakening across the galaxy. Commander Maya Chen looked toward Admiral Elias Carter. "Our outer sentinel stations have stopped transmitting." Carter nodded slowly. "They've been destroyed." "No distress calls?" "They never had time." Silence spread across the bridge. The sentinel stations had survived 3 million years. They had endured supernovas, gamma-ray bursts, and cosmic storms. Yet whatever approached had erased them in seconds. An officer turned from the sensor array. "Admiral, visual confirmation." The main display illuminated. Gasps echoed across the bridge. The Devourer wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a creature. It was something far worse. A sea of impossible black structures stretched farther than sensors could measure. Each object constantly shifted shape, flowing between solid matter and living shadow. Some resembled enormous ships. Others looked like cities drifting through space. Several were larger than planets. They moved without engines, without heat, without detectable energy signatures. Commander Chen whispered, "How many?" The AI answered calmly, "Estimated count, impossible." Meanwhile, panic spread throughout the Galactic Council. Species that had hated each other for centuries suddenly begged for alliances. Old wars ended overnight. Trade disputes disappeared. Borders no longer mattered. Survival did. Even Emperor Kale of the Dravian Empire, who had mocked humanity only days earlier, requested an emergency audience with Admiral Carter. The meeting began in silence. Kale lowered his head. "I misjudged your people." Carter didn't reply. The Emperor continued, "If this enemy is real, tell us how to stop it." For the first time, Carter's expression softened. "You can't." The chamber fell silent. "The Devourer cannot be defeated by your technology." "Then why fight?" "Because it can be delayed. Long enough for humanity to finish what we began 3 million years ago." Kale frowned. "What did you begin?" Carter looked toward the stars. "A prison. Deep beneath Earth's surface. A facility hidden since before recorded history came online. Layer after layer of ancient security systems unlocked. Massive blast doors opened. Rows of colossal machines emerged from darkness. Not weapons. Not ships. Machines unlike anything the modern galaxy had ever imagined. Each stood kilometers tall. Each surrounded a glowing sphere of compressed spacetime. An elderly engineer smiled as dormant systems awakened. "I never thought I'd live to see this day." Another engineer looked at the readings. "The anchor network is responding." "How many stations?" 199. The pause. "One is still offline." Every face in the control room became serious. Without the final anchor, the prison could never be sealed again. At the edge of the galaxy, humanity's first defensive line engaged. Hundreds of thousands of white Terran warships formed a wall across interstellar space. No dramatic speeches. No celebrations. Every captain already knew the odds. Their mission wasn't victory. It was time. Admiral Carter's voice echoed across every vessel. "Today, we remember why humanity endured. No retreat. No surrender. We hold." Millions of voices answered as one. "We hold." The fleet accelerated. Across the darkness, the Devourer responded. Thousands of black structures shifted formation. The stars themselves seemed to dim. Without warning, reality cracked. Space fractured like glass between the two armadas. The first Terran battleship disappeared instantly. Not destroyed. Erased. As though it had never existed. Another vanished. Then another. Humanity's legendary fleet, the one feared by the elders themselves, was losing ships within seconds. Commander Chen stared at the casualty reports. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "They're stronger than before." Admiral Carter didn't look away from the battle. "I was afraid of that." Then every alarm on the bridge activated simultaneously. A priority signal arrived from Earth. The AI announced the message in an unusually tense voice. "Emergency alert. Anchor Station 1 has failed to activate." The bridge fell silent. Carter closed his eyes. If even one anchor remained offline, the prison would never close. And if the prison remained open, nothing in the galaxy, not humanity, not the Elders' legacy, not every united fleet combined, would be enough to stop what was coming. The galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in millions of years, every civilization had the same question. What was humanity hiding? The answer was buried beneath Earth. Not in a city. Not in a military base. Not inside a hidden fleet. It was beneath the oldest oceans of the human homeworld. Beneath layers of rock that had existed before any modern civilization had reached the stars. The final anchor station. The one place even the elders had never been able to understand. Inside the command chamber beneath Earth, alarms continued to echo. The anchor network was failing. One by one, The ancient stations holding the Devourers prisoned together were collapsing. The galaxy's combined fleets were buying time. But time was running out. Admiral Elias Carter stood before the central hologram. Only 3 anchor stations remained active. 3 out of 200. The numbers were impossible. The Devourer was adapting faster than expected. Commander Maya Chen approached. "Admiral, the Council fleets are asking for instructions." Carter looked at the battlefield display. Thousands of alien ships fought beside Terran warships. Species that had once considered humanity a threat were now fighting beneath the same banner. "They need to fall back." Chen looked surprised. "Fall back? If they stay, they die." "But if we retreat?" Carter interrupted. "We are not retreating." He looked toward Earth. "We are activating the weapon." The Galactic Council received the message moments later. Every species watched as Admiral Carter appeared on their screens. For millions of years, humanity stayed hidden. "We allowed the galaxy to believe we were gone. We allowed you to believe the elders feared us." The Admiral paused. "The truth is different." Images appeared behind him. Ancient battles. Millions of years old. A younger galaxy filled with countless civilizations. And one enemy. The Devourer. Long ago, the elders discovered this entity moving between galaxies. They fought it. They lost. They asked humanity for help. The council members stared in disbelief. "The elders asked you?" Carter nodded. "Because they discovered something they never expected. Humanity was the only species capable of adapting fast enough." The transmission showed ancient human ships fighting alongside elder fleets. Not hundreds. Not thousands. Millions. But victory came at a cost. "We could not destroy the Devourer. So we built a prison." A final image appeared. The prison was this galaxy. Silence followed. The galaxy wasn't humanity's home. It was the cage humanity built. Suddenly, every sensor detected a massive change. The Devourer stopped advancing. The Black Fleet froze. For the first time since appearing, it hesitated. Commander Chen stared at her display. "Admiral, it knows." Carter nodded. "It remembers." The Devourer had not been moving randomly. It wasn't searching. It was returning. It had been waiting for the only enemy that ever defeated it. Humanity. Deep beneath Earth's surface, the final chamber opened. A machine larger than any starship emerged. Its structure was unlike anything created by modern civilizations. No weapons. No engines. No armor. Only a massive circular frame surrounding a small blue sphere. The original Earth. A perfect energy copy of the planet from before humanity left. The engineers looked at the impossible creation. This was built before the first human colony? The lead scientist nodded. Before our first city. Before our first language. Before we even understood the stars. A younger engineer stared in disbelief. "Then who built it?" The scientist smiled. "We did." Everyone froze. "Humans built this?" "No." The scientist looked toward the ancient machine. "Humanity built itself." Across the galaxy, every ship received a new signal. Not from Admiral Carter. Not from the Council. From Earth itself. A voice thousands of years old. Powerful. Human. If you are hearing this, then the final battle has begun. The Devourer moved again. The darkness stretched across space. But this time, humanity moved first. The Terran fleet opened a path toward the center of the enemy formation. Every alien commander expected a desperate attack. Instead, the human ships stopped. They waited. The Devourer approached. Closer, closer. Then the ancient weapon activated. The stars went dark. For 3 seconds, the entire universe became silent. Then every sensor in the galaxy detected something impossible. The Devourer was afraid. And for the first time in 3 million years, the galaxy witnessed the one thing the elders had always known. The reason humanity was never meant to be awakened. Not because humans were destroyers. Not because they were conquerors. But because when humanity finally woke up, Nothing could force them back to sleep. The universe had gone silent. For the first time in recorded history, every civilization stopped fighting. Every fleet stopped moving. Every weapon stopped firing. Because everyone had witnessed the impossible. The Devourer, the entity that had consumed galaxies. The force that had defeated the Elders. The enemy that had erased entire civilizations without effort, had stopped. Not destroyed. Not defeated. Stopped. Because humanity had awakened. Aboard the Galactic Command Station, thousands of alien leaders watched the battlefield in complete disbelief. The Dravian Emperor Kale stared at the frozen image of the Devourer's endless fleet. No weapon did this. The archivist Zelker slowly nodded. No. Humanity did. A younger representative looked confused. But how? How can one species stand against something like that? Zelker looked toward the stars. Because we never understood what humanity truly was. The room became quiet. We thought humans were another civilization. We were wrong. They were the Guardians. Near the center of the battlefield, Admiral Elias Carter stood aboard the Resolute Dawn. The ship was surrounded by thousands of Terran vessels. Their weapons were silent. Their engines were reduced to minimum power. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. Commander Maya Chin approached. The Devourer has stopped advancing. Carter nodded. Because it remembers. Remembers what? The Admiral looked at the ancient enemy ahead. The first time we defeated it. Chin stared at him. Admiral, that was 3 million years ago. Yes. And humans lived that long? Carter smiled faintly. Not exactly. He looked at the stars. Humanity changed. A transmission suddenly appeared. Not from Earth. Not from the Terran fleet. From the Devourer. Every communication system in the galaxy activated at once. A voice entered every mind. Every language. Every species understood it. You should have remained asleep. Fear spread instantly. The Devourer continued. You were the only species that evolved beyond my control. Admiral Carter stepped forward. For the first time, the galaxy heard a human answer. You were never controlling us. The darkness shifted. All species fear death. Carter looked at the enemy. Humans don't fear death. The pause. We fear leaving others behind. The message traveled across the battlefield. Every alien soldier heard it. Every commander. Every survivor. The Devourer responded. You sacrificed your own kind to create this prison. The bridge became silent. Because it was true. Millions of ancient humans had given their lives to stop the Devourer. But Carter's answer surprised everyone. We didn't sacrifice them. They chose. The Terran archives opened. Across the galaxy, every species received access to the truth. Ancient human colonies. Human scientists. Human soldiers. Families saying goodbye before impossible missions. Humanity had not hidden because it was afraid. Humanity had hidden because it was protecting everyone else. The galaxy finally understood. The Elders didn't warn them because humans were dangerous. They warned them because waking humanity meant reopening a responsibility no species should ever carry. The Devourer began moving again. But this time, something was different. The darkness was unstable. The ancient weapon beneath Earth had damaged its connection to reality. The Devourer was no longer infinite. It was vulnerable. Commander Chen looked at the battle readings. Admiral. Enemy structure weakening. Carter nodded. Good. Then we begin Phase 2. The entire Terran fleet activated. Across the galaxy, ancient human stations powered on. The hidden defenses. The forgotten weapons. The impossible technology that had slept for millions of years. The galaxy watched as humanity revealed its final creation. Not a bomb. Not a superweapon. Something far greater. A network capable of rewriting the battlefield itself. The Devourer finally understood. It had not awakened humanity. It had called humanity back. And now, it had nowhere left to run. At the edge of space, the darkness began retreating. For the first time ever, the Devourer moved backward. The impossible had happened. The galaxy's greatest nightmare was afraid. And standing between it and every living world was a species everyone had underestimated. Humans. For millions of years, the galaxy believed power belonged to those who could destroy the most. The largest fleets. The strongest weapons. The oldest civilizations. But on this day, every species learned the truth. Power was not measured by how much someone could take. It was measured by what someone was willing to protect. And humanity had been protecting the galaxy long before anyone even knew they existed. The battlefield outside the galactic rim had become something impossible. Stars flickered as reality itself struggled to contain the forces being unleashed. The Devourer's endless black structures surrounded the Terran fleet like a living storm. But for the first time, the darkness was not advancing. It was retreating. The ancient enemy that had consumed countless galaxies was afraid. Not of humanity's weapons. Not of their numbers. But of their determination. Aboard the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Elias Carter watched the tactical display. The situation was still beyond dangerous. The Devourer was damaged, but not defeated. Millions of black vessels remained. Every second they delayed meant another star system could disappear. Commander Maya Chin approached. The anchor network is stabilizing. Carter looked at the data. How long until full activation? She hesitated. 30 minutes. The Admiral looked toward the battlefield. We don't have 30 minutes. Chen understood immediately. What are you planning? Carter remained silent. For years, humanity had prepared for this moment. But no one had expected the final battle to come so soon. Finally he spoke. We open the path ourselves. Chen's expression changed. Admiral, that's impossible. No. Carter looked at the thousands of human ships surrounding them. It's what we were built for. Across the galaxy, alien fleets received a new order. Not from their own governments. From humanity. Every species that had once feared Earth now received the same message. Fall back from the front line. Confusion spread. The Dravian Emperor Kale immediately contacted Carter. You cannot fight this alone. Carter answered calmly. We are not fighting alone. Kale looked around his command bridge. We have millions of ships ready. The Admiral smiled. And you have millions of lives worth protecting. A silence followed. Then Kale understood. Humanity wasn't asking them to abandon the battle. Humanity was giving them the chance to survive it. For the first time, the galaxy saw what made humans different. They did not measure victory by survival. They measured it by how many others survived with them. The Terran fleet began moving. Not backward. Forward. Every human battleship accelerated directly toward the heart of the Devourer. The alien commanders watching the battle couldn't believe what they were seeing. They're charging into it? They're attacking the center? They'll be destroyed. But they weren't. The Black Fleet fired everything. Weapons that had erased planets. Energy storms that had destroyed entire civilizations. Reality-breaking attacks that ignored conventional defenses. The Terran ships continued forward. One after another, human vessels disappeared. But another ship always took its place. A wall of determination moving through the darkness. Inside the Devourer's central structure, something ancient awakened. A consciousness older than stars. Older than civilizations. It recognized the humans approaching. You returned. The voice echoed through space. Admiral Carter heard it. Yes. You know you cannot win. Carter looked at the battle around him. Human ships burning. Alien fleets waiting. Entire worlds watching. Then he answered. We don't need to win forever. The Devourer paused. We only need to win today. The Terran fleet reached the center. The impossible structure before them was larger than any planet. It had no weak point. No reactor. No command center. Because the Devourer itself was the weapon. Humanity's scanners searched. Nothing. Then an ancient elder file appeared. A message hidden for millions of years. A final instruction. Commander Chen opened it. Her eyes widened. Admiral. What is it? She looked at him. The elders knew. Knew what? Humanity was never supposed to destroy the Devourer. Carter stared at the screen. The message continued. The enemy cannot be killed. It can only be changed. Everyone on the bridge went silent. The final anchor station activated. Across the galaxy, ancient structures connected. 199 stations. Then the final one. The entire planet became part of the network. A wave of energy spread outward. Not an attack. A signal. The same signal that had awakened humanity. But now it was being sent to something else. The Devourer. The Black Fleet stopped. Every ship. Every structure. Every fragment of darkness. Everything froze. The galaxy waited. No one knew what was happening. Then the impossible occurred. The darkness began changing. The black structures lost their terrifying forms. Their surfaces shifted. The endless hunger disappeared. The Devourer was transforming. The enemy that had consumed galaxies was becoming something else. Something ancient. Something forgotten. Inside the Devourer's consciousness, humanity saw the truth. It was never a monster. It was a broken creation. A weapon built by an ancient civilization that no longer existed. A machine designed to consume enemies. But when its creators disappeared, it continued following its final command. Consume everything. Until nothing remained. Humanity had not defeated it. Humanity had freed it. The galaxy watched as the darkness faded. The stars returned. The missing worlds stopped disappearing. The Devourer's fleet transformed into millions of silent vessels drifting peacefully through space. The war was over. But nobody celebrated. Because everyone understood what had happened. Humanity had saved them. Days later, the Galactic Council gathered. But this time, there was no fear. No accusations. No hatred. Only respect. The archivist Zelker stepped forward. The elders left us one warning. Everyone listened. We misunderstood it for millions of years. He looked toward the human representatives. The warning was never awaken humanity. He paused. It was, never make humanity believe it has been abandoned. The chamber became silent. Because everyone finally understood. Humanity had slept. Not because it was weak. Not because it was defeated. But because it trusted the galaxy enough to leave it protected. And when the galaxy finally needed them, humanity woke up. Admiral Carter looked out at the stars. A galaxy once divided now stood together. The humans had returned. But they did not claim thrones. They did not demand obedience. They simply returned to their ancient duty. Protectors. Explorers. Guardians. Because the universe had finally learned the truth the elders knew millions of years ago. Humanity was never the greatest threat in the galaxy. Humanity was the reason the galaxy still existed. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy was quiet. Not the silence of fear. Not the silence before destruction. A peaceful silence. The kind that comes after surviving something impossible. Across thousands of worlds, civilizations looked toward the stars and remembered the moment everything changed. The moment the galaxy discovered that the legends were real. Humanity had returned. The war against the Devourer became the most important event in galactic history. Not because of the battles. Not because of the weapons. Not because of the impossible technology. But because of what happened afterward. The galaxy had expected humanity to demand payment. They expected revenge. They expected the strongest civilization to become the new empire. That was what every powerful species in history had done. But humanity did something no one expected. They helped rebuild. Terran ships traveled across damaged systems. Not as conquerors. As builders. Where worlds had lost their energy networks, human engineers arrived. Where civilizations had lost their homes, human fleets delivered supplies. Where ancient enemies still carried hatred from forgotten wars, humanity brought them together. The same species that everyone once feared became the reason peace finally became possible. On the planet Selker Prime, the Galactic Council held its first united meeting. The same chamber where civilizations once argued was now filled with representatives from every corner of the galaxy. For centuries, the council had been a place of division. Now it was different. At the center stood a simple symbol. A blue planet. The archivist Zelkerer approached the podium. His voice was older than any living record. Millions of years ago, the elders left us a warning. Every representative listened carefully. They told us one rule: never awaken humanity. A few younger leaders looked toward the human delegation. They had heard the story many times, but they still wanted to understand. Zelkerer continued. We believed the warning meant humanity was dangerous. He paused. We were wrong. The chamber became silent. The elders feared something else. They feared what would happen if humanity woke up in a galaxy that had forgotten how to stand together. Admiral Elias Carter sat quietly among the human representatives. He no longer wore his battle uniform. The war was over. The Terran fleet had returned to exploration missions. But everyone in the chamber knew who he was. The commander who faced the Devourer. The man who stood between extinction and survival. A young alien ambassador approached him after the meeting. Admiral. Carter turned. The ambassador hesitated. Why? The admiral smiled slightly. Why what? Why did humanity hide for so long? The question was simple, but the answer carried millions of years of history. Carter looked toward the stars. Because we learned something. What? Power without responsibility destroys everything. The ambassador listened. The galaxy saw our strength and assumed we wanted control. But strength was never the reason humanity survived. Then what was? Carter answered. Hope. Far beyond the known galaxy, the transformed Devourer continued its journey. No longer a force of destruction. No longer a weapon. It had become something new. A guardian of forgotten space. A reminder of what happened when creation lost its purpose. Humanity stayed connected with it. Not as enemies. As survivors. Because humans understood something others didn't. Even the greatest monsters could sometimes be saved. Years passed. Then decades. Then centuries. The story of humanity changed. The old legends disappeared. The fear disappeared. A new generation grew up knowing humans not as mysterious warriors, but as explorers, teachers, friends. Children across thousands of worlds learned about Earth. They learned about human oceans, human cities, human music, human curiosity. They discovered that the same species capable of building impossible weapons was also capable of creating impossible beauty. One day, a young student visited the ancient human archive. The same archive that once held the warning, "Do not awaken humanity." The student looked at the old inscription. Was this really true? The human historian beside her smiled. The warning? Yes. The historian looked at the words. It was true. The student looked confused. But humanity saved everyone. Exactly. Then why warn people? The historian smiled. Because the galaxy wasn't ready. The student thought for a moment. Ready for humans? The historian shook his head. No. Ready for the truth. What truth? The historian looked toward the stars. That the most powerful civilization is not the one with the strongest weapons. It is the one that chooses not to use them. Many civilizations wrote histories about the final battle. Many described the Terran fleet. Many described the moment the Devourer stopped. But every official record ended with the same sentence. Humanity did not save the galaxy because it was the strongest. Humanity saved the galaxy because it remembered everyone else mattered. Millions of years later, another civilization would discover the ancient Elder archives. They would find the old warning. They would read the words that once terrified the galaxy. Never awaken humanity. They would wonder why such a powerful species was hidden. They would search for answers. And eventually, they would discover the final message left by Admiral Carter. A message recorded before humanity began exploring the universe again. The message was simple. A single human standing beneath the stars. If you are watching this, then you have found our story. You may have heard many things about humanity. Some will say we were warriors. Some will say we were protectors. Some will say we were impossible. He smiled. But the truth is much simpler. We are human. We make mistakes. We fight. We dream. We discover. And when the universe needs someone to stand between darkness and everything worth protecting, we answer. The recording ended. The galaxy never forgot the warning. But it finally understood it. The elders were not afraid of humanity. They respected them. Because they knew something no one else did. A sleeping humanity was powerful. An awakened humanity was unstoppable. But a humanity that chose compassion was something far greater. It was hope. And that was the final lesson the universe learned. Never awaken humanity unless the galaxy truly needs saving.